Forgiveness is the foundation on which Christianity stands. And our response to that forgiveness should be one of gratitude. We don't deserve God's forgiveness. There's nothing that we've done to earn it. It is purely by His grace and by His mercy. And when we think of the fact that God loved us, for God so loved the world, that He gave His only begotten Son. And when you think about that, He didn't just give us anything, He gave His only begotten Son. He gave us His best. And when we are really grateful for that and for God's forgiveness, we will serve Him and we will love Him and we will always appreciate the salvation that God has provided for us. Once again, we're here for the Sanctuary Sunday School, and I'm so glad to have you here with me. I encourage you to go to the website, www.thesanctuary.academy. We've updated the website. The schedule is there for the daily videos. I'm posting videos every day now, as well as the live videos. I'll be going live at least once a week right here on YouTube. So go to the website. Also, you want to get on our mailing list. Subscribe to the mailing list so that you will get our newsletter. We'll be doing our first newsletter this month, and I don't want you to miss that. And before you leave, though, subscribe to the YouTube channel. So tap that subscribe button and then tap that bell so that you don't miss anything that we have for you. This week's subject is grateful faith. And this lesson opens with Jesus at dinner with one of the Pharisees. And as we read the New Testament, we see that Jesus' relationship with the Pharisees was not one that was exactly a great relationship. They kind of stayed around him. They invited him out. They followed him, not so much for social pleasure as much as it was to show him up or prove that he did something wrong. So this was the way that the Pharisees and Jesus went back and forth. And for that, I love to watch this. I'm glad this is recorded this way because I love the way that Jesus always responded to them. He was always ready. And that's a lesson for me. You know, sometimes when you're trying to teach or minister or whatever, or just live right in general, there's always something there to trip you up. And I hear so many church people complain about that and use that as an excuse to not do what God has called you to do. But Jesus had these Pharisees on his heels at all times, and he never allowed it to be a distraction or a discouragement from doing what he came and accomplishing the mission that he came to earth to accomplish. And that right there, before we go any further in this lesson, is a great example for us. So he's at this dinner, and this lady comes in, and she was a known sinner. They all knew that she was a sinner. And she came, and it says that she stood behind Jesus and she started to cry. And then it says that she washed his feet with her tears, and then she dried it with her hair. And she also had a box that was made of alabaster, and she anointed his feet with the ointment that was in the alabaster box. And of course, the alabaster box is a very popular passage, and even we have songs about it. And we have similar stories recorded in both the Gospels of Matthew and Mark. So this is very significant with this woman that approached Jesus with this alabaster box. So we see here what she did. She was weeping. She washed his feet with her tears, dried them with her hair, and anointed his feet. Now, we see the reaction of the Pharisee, and he said, okay, he's a prophet, and if he's a prophet, then he should know that this is a sinner. And they made a very distinct separation from who they thought was holy and who was a sinner. So they're saying, you know, she's here and she's doing all this anointing and washing his feet and stuff, and she's a sinner, and he, you know, kind of like he should know better than that. So this is what the Pharisee was thinking and saying to himself. And I love the fact that Jesus addressed it. He called him by name. He said, Simon, his name was Simon. He called him by name, and he said, I have something to say. And he got his attention, and he addressed the situation. And he started with a parable. And the parable said that there was a man, and he was a creditor, and he had two debtors. One debtor owed him 50 pence, and the other one owed him 500 pence. And so then he asked Simon, he said, okay, the man forgave both of them. They didn't have the money to pay, and so he forgave the debt for both of them. And so he said, now, my question to you is, which one should have a greater love for the creditor? And so Simon said, well, naturally, the one with the 500 pence, because he had a greater debt forgiven. And so then I love this because Jesus kind of led him right into it, and he positioned him right where he needed him to be so that he could get him and put him in his proper place. And he said, okay, now we're here and I'm at this feast, and I came in and you didn't even give me anything to clean my feet, which was customary at that time. When you were a guest in someone's home, they would provide water or a servant or somebody or something to clean your feet. He said, you didn't even provide a place for me to clean my feet, but this woman, she cleaned my feet with her tears, and then she dried it with her hair. And then he said, you didn't even greet me with a kiss. And again, that was another customary thing, that you would greet people with a kiss. He said, you didn't even give me a kiss. And this woman has kissed my feet. And so then he went on to say, and also, you didn't even anoint me. Now, anointing in that time was something that they did with someone who was considered a family or close or a valued friend. He said, I came into your house to this dinner. You didn't even anoint me. But this woman anointed me with the oil out of the box. She anointed my feet. And so he pointed out all of these things, and he showed up the Pharisee in so many words to say, he told him, you're rude. You are not even a good host. And this woman, you're supposed to be this ruler, this classic person, this nobility who knows all of the things to do, but yet you did not do them. But this lady who is a sinner came in and she did everything that you should have done. She provided me all of the things that you should have provided. And so he made this stark comparison here. And when you look at that, and we talked about that, this was such a lesson to me for those of us in church, and just to be careful how we entreat people in general, how we treat sinners, how we treat our peers, to be conscious of that and make sure that we're not so busy pointing out the sins of others until we overlook the things that we should be doing, which is exactly what happened in this lesson. And I love this lesson because the best part about it is that Jesus told this woman, he said, her sins are many, and she has great love for me, and her sins are forgiven. And that is so powerful. And that just blessed my soul because sometimes, I say this all the time. I've grown up in church now for 49 years. I've been in church my entire life. And sometimes in the church, we consider the things that we do little things. It's not a big deal, and we overlook them. But then we're real good at condemning the drug dealers, the whoremongers, the adulterers, smokers and drinkers. Oh man, we can preach on them all day and condemn them all day long. But according to this passage here, those people with all of these great multitudes of sin, they are going to be forgiven as well, just like you. And we don't want to be guilty of condemning and pointing the finger at everybody else, but then trying to diminish our indiscretions and the sins that we have. Any sin is against God, and they're all the same. There's no, my sin is not as bad because of who I am, but yours is terrible because of who you are and what you did. Jesus showed us right here that this woman was valuable and that she had access to him. And that is the biggest takeaway for this from me, for me, is that she had access to him. And sometimes in our churches, we don't give the people who need it the most access. We go for each other. I go so you can look at me and tell me how nicely I'm dressed, or tell me what a great speaker I am, or what a great teacher I am. And it's kind of a social interaction between the church people, and we don't even really look at the bringing the sinners in. And that is not the example that Jesus is setting here. And it shows the attitude of gratefulness that this woman had. She was so grateful to just be in the presence of Jesus. And she immediately noticed that his feet needed to be washed and anointed. And even that she thought enough of him to kiss his feet in worship. And those are things that are such strong examples for us as to how we should respond to the love and the forgiveness of God. We should respond with gratitude, grateful faith. It is through faith that I am saved, and I am so glad. Another one of my songs we sing is simple. I'm so glad that the Lord saved me. If it had not been for Jesus, where would I be? I'm so glad that the Lord saved me. And that should be our attitude every single day. I thank the Lord. I appreciate the Lord. I am glad that the Lord saw fit to deliver me. And if we have that attitude of being grateful to God, then we will spread the word and we will share the word and we will embrace people who need the Lord so that they can share in the gratitude of a God who is so loving and so forgiving.